Larry, Happy New Year. Can I have a bottle of the 2015 Bisadian Cabernet from Washington? Did I hear you right? You just asked for a vintage first? Yeah, Larry, could I have a bottle of the vintage champagne or the non-vintage champagne? Really? Wow. New Year's Eve is 2019 is getting off to a good start. Hi, I'm Larry Baker. I am a certified level 2 sommelier and a senior wine and spirit specialist here at ABC Fine Wine and Spirits in beautiful downtown North Miami. I hope you had a wonderful New Year's celebration and took some of my recommendations for bubbly or sparkling or Christmas gifts or the holiday gifts, whatever you were shopping for. A lot of people, I don't believe in New Year's resolutions, and because you never keep to them. But I love that there's people. I'm seeing that 2019. I'm predicting this is it's like Groundhog Day. I'm for wine, for Sommelier Day. I'm predicting that I'm helping my mission, my gospel of what I spread about the wine world is starting to kick in with the average consumer who doesn't normally shop that way. I'm changing their habits. So that, I think for January, at the beginning of January of a brand new year, I think not all of the customers, but I think some people have actually made a resolution to actually be more informed about what they're buying when choosing a bottle of wine, and also to trust the person, the sommelier or the wine retailer, somebody that understands your palate, to make a recommendation instead of listening to other people that are not in this industry giving you recommendations when they don't even know or work in the industry whatsoever, where they just write names that they recognize. I'm seeing a change, not in everybody. Some people are still going to shop that way, and that's fine, but I'm seeing a good beginning to that some of this sunk in. For example, I test my customers all the time when they don't even know they're being tested. When my guests come into an ABC, I want to see if they picked up anything. Let's say, like I said, the Bisadian Cabernet. I will walk up to them, they'll ask for 2 bottles of this Cabernet Sauvignon from Washington State, made by John Grashau, and I'll say, do you want these 2 bottles? They go, yes. And I go, you sure you want these 2 bottles? Well, yes, it's Bisadian Cabernet. And then they turn the bottle around and they realize, I know it's hard to see on the camera, but this one is 2015 and this one is 2016. And they go, I had the 15 before, how's the 16? I said, I haven't tasted it yet, but for now, stick with the 15. And they're noticing, instead they would just say, do you have this wine? Do you have that wine? Do you have that brand name? Do you have that brand name? And now I'm seeing a change over and over of repeatedly buying me, where I'm tricking them into saying, here's 2 bottles, to see if they catch it. I won't let them walk out the store, but I want to see if they, at some point in the process, they look at the vintage to make sure they're getting the vintage that they've tried before and that they know they specifically tasted. And that's a good sign for 2019. You don't know how much headway we've made from where customers normally just say, you have this brand? What's your favorite brand? Do you have that brand? And they don't think about vintage at all. So that's a start. Another thing that I've seen a big difference when is that finally people are understanding is that they go, this is the first time I've ever liked Chardonnay, because they're drinking white Burgundy. They finally got the idea that Burgundy is not a wine. It's a region, and the #1 white grape, the major grape grown in the area, is from different villages like Macon Chantray, but it's 100% Chardonnay, and they're loving it at $13.99. They buy cases. I'm being sent 3-4 cases. People just buying a case a week of this stuff, because they say they can't even go back to drinking California Chardonnay, which is usually blended, which is higher in alcohol, that you don't taste the fruit, you taste a lot of lactic, malolactic stuff, vanilla, and they're understanding for the first time in their life, they can't go back to that. Once you try Burgundy, you drink a white Burgundy, it's very difficult for people to go back to any price, to any Chardonnay coming out of California. And of course, there's higher levels of Chardonnay, but for the everyday drinker who is drinking $12 to $15 bottles of California blended Chardonnay with over oaked and over alcohol, they've learned. They ask for, give me white Burgundy, and I know that Chardonnay. Give me my favorite Chardonnay from Burgundy. That's a big resolution that some people are keeping, and I love that. They've also listened to me where I made that statement, and many reviewers have made that statement. 2015 on areas, especially the right bank of Bordeaux. 2015, it doesn't matter who. It doesn't matter if it's a blind person, if it's a grandmother. It doesn't matter. I could probably go out there in 2015. It's one of those vintages on especially the right bank of Bordeaux, like Saint-Emilion, like this is, or Bordeaux Superior, or anything on the right bank, Pomerol, Land de Pomerol, all those areas on the right bank, Merlot-based wine are going to be the star of the show. Buy any brand at any price, $13, $12. This is an opportunity to buy wines that are ready to drink today with ripe fruit and elegant. I haven't had a bad 2015 right bank Bordeaux yet. Buy every brand. I don't care who makes it, as long as it's from right bank Bordeaux 2015, and people are coming in and asking, I just want a 2015 Bordeaux. This is Chateau La Bonnelle, Saint-Emilion Grand Cru, Olivier Solzère product, and it's a 2015 Merlot-based wine, and it's Grand Cru, and it's $24.99. And now you have an opportunity to drink Bordeaux and drink it today and not wait. You could wait 30 years to drink it, it'll get better, but it's drinkable right now with an hour opening. They're taking notes. They wrote in their phone, I should only buy 2015 right bank Bordeaux. That's a New Year resolution that's being kept. And finally, it was a tough one, but so many comebacks after the New Year's now, and people that they gave bottles to, and now they finally hit it, that if you can afford a champagne that has a vintage on it, that most people drink non-vintage champagne, a blending of many, many different years together, about 10, 15 vintages of grapes blended in to make a so-called house style. The reason people drink that is because the vintage version of one specific year, usually within a 10-year, a decade, maybe 3 years, will be a vintage champagne year, and of course some of those vintages will be better than other. Even if you drank, let's say, Dom Perignon, we had a 2009 for $154.98, a 2008 Legacy for $164.98, and the P2, which was a 2000, a classic vintage, for $379 a bottle. So vintage is everything, and the only reason to drink a non-vintage champagne would be that it's a more affordable and accessible. But anytime you have the option, when a non-vintage brand name commercially produced champagne is $39.98 or maybe even more expensive, and you could have a vintage champagne like Jean-Noël Hatton, the Noble Vintage, which comes from one specific year, 2012, 60% Chardonnay, 40% Pinot Noir, and it's 1 penny more than the brand you were going to buy that is producing millions and millions of bottles of wine with no vintage on it, and their vintage version would cost you $100. It's always smarter of anybody's brand, no matter who the house is, especially the smaller the better, is to buy a vintage champagne if you can afford it. Nobody, you wouldn't have to tell anybody that knows about wine that if the champagne has a vintage on it, you don't care what the brand is if it's only the same affordable price as a non-vintage version. Always buy the vintage champagne. So many people coming back and saying, this was amazing. Everybody I gave it to as a gift was really excited. I don't know what got me hooked on a certain label, but for a penny more, you can taste the difference in vintage champagne. So I'm really happy to see that. And for more information about some of these wines, you can go to our website at abcfws.com, or you can contact me. A lot more people, that's another good resolution, are now contacting me and asking me via phone, help me please, I'm at a restaurant, or showing me pictures, please pick a wine for me, because they've gained the credibility of trusting their wine and spirit specialists at ABC. You can reach me by following me on my blog and become one of those people that can contact me 24/7 anyway, many different ways. So again, remember, as I always say, I'm going to say it as I left off 2018, I'm going to start off 2019. Wine is not for snobs. It's for everyday people like you and me. And I'm happy that 2019 is getting off to a good start with consumers.